since he wore purple all the time, could we legally call him the Grapist?
Hi everyone, going with the Mephisto theories. I was like,
Look at this children's book. This is all our answers.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another fine episode of the Happy 616th Marvel Family Podcast. I am your host, as always, the Funny Hatter. Today with me, I have 1, Victor, the X-Men, and 2, AJ, the Man. Everybody say hi.
Uncle AJ's got a little bit of alcohol in his breath. Hope he doesn't say something crazy.
As long as you don't talk about union disputes, I think we'll be okay.
Oh, no, yeah.
So, today, as you may have read by the title, is our official cheat day. Yeah, everybody likes cheating every once in a while. You need to spice things up every once in a while. What do you guys think? You need to spice things up sometime?
Yeah, we'll just need to cheat on our respective partner, Marvel, in this case, and, we'll all be fine, We just get it out of our system.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel, I have a confession. I've been seeing Image.
That's okay. It's not like they're going to sue you or anything. But don't worry. So today we are going to be talking about some of the stuff that makes us happy that is not Marvel today. So we're down to 3 people, which means, hey, more time for you guys to do a little talking. I was going to give an example of... and by the way, you don't necessarily have to... If there's something that you want to talk about or a franchise you want to talk about, it doesn't necessarily have to be in a comic book. It can be in any other franchise that you like. It can be in movies, TV shows, video games, I guess. Yeah, that works. So we'll get into that in just a minute. If you guys like what you hear, Jesus fucking Christ, please like and subscribe, share with all your fucking friends.
They're going to turn the lights off in my apartment because of you fucks not subscribing.
Exactly. Help this poor boy out. Just let the poor boy sleep in your bed. Your
subs translate to my money, and I've learned my lesson. I'm no longer going to burn it like I used to.
That means your money is 100% going to actual rent instead of open air.
Yeah. Like, now I know what to do with it. I know that I no longer use it for like a pillow fort and then burn it when I'm done.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, since we got all that crap out of the way, and if AJ dies, just remember it's your fault. If Hollywood has taught me anything, it's okay to insult your audience. So do better.
The audience is never right.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Anyway, so I was originally going to go first with something that has been on my mind today. I'm going to save it for later because it also involves a rant. So I'm going to leave that as your audio dessert for now. Let's say that. I want to hear what you guys have to say. And we are going by chaos rules, so that means anybody can start talking, interrupt each other. That's how Chris likes it, so I'm pretty sure this will make him happy listening to it later. Yep, there. You can interrupt me just like that. So what do you guys want to talk about today? You go ahead and just tell us what you want to talk about.
I want to talk about Star Wars.
Ooh, what about Star Wars?
Never heard of it.
Because if there's
is that Dune movie?
Is that the one?
No, no Dune. What the hell? None of the weird talking.
Succeed
babies.
and prosper. What the fuck is that? Is the
talking fetuses or whatever?
Succeed and prosper.
No, not that one either. God damn it. No, I'm talking about Jedi, Fallen Order, and Survivor. Video games, Star Wars.
Ooh.
Sort of a tie into like one of our previous episodes, actually, of our previous cheats, previous days of cheating in terms of Star Wars content, because I feel might as well. Because Star Wars is cool. I love Star Wars about as much as I love Superman, which is why this has practically become a repeat topic on this channel, despite not being Marvel content. For Star Wars, the reason that these games like appeal so much is, well, for one thing, I really love the idea of like, finally getting to, play as a Jedi in these Star Wars games instead of just, the usual IP bunch that we got, like, for so long. Like, I was starving for that. Because, like previously, the most you had was Battlefront giving us, like, a new campaign, quotes, but not really. And yeah, no, I'm also in the theme of it because, we have a new Star Wars release once again with a, gun-toting, blaster-toting character in crossing the Star Wars universe. Hopefully this one will be a little better.
Just real quick, that is my jam. I love like the pseudo-Western side of Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I do not trust Ubisoft.
Yeah, that's sort of the one thing. I do enjoy that stuff, but yeah.
I was about to ask, are you talking about Star Wars Outlaws?
Yeah.
At first I was like, I'm so glad that it's out of EA's hands. And then it went to Ubisoft and I was like, fuck.
Oh no!
We're so close.
Out of the frying pan, right?
Into the fire.
But yeah, that made me think about like the Star Wars Jedi games because like those are awesome. Frankly,
They are awesome.
and like yeah, my appeal of just like playing as Cameron Monaghan in the Star Wars universe is just like super cool.
Starkiller was better.
Like that thing. That's why I'm bringing Star Wars Survivor in on it because like let's face it. God of War in Star Wars is a good concept on paper. But, like, when in practice, you are not buying that any Force user could just, get this power set just on hand. Like, I don't care if his two parents are Force users or that, like, he's cloned afterwards. If you have a character like that, your franchise is over. Like, you basically just won already.
Yeah. I was going to make the God of War comparison because... It's very astute that you made that because that's more accurate than you think. Because like,
yeah,
if Force Unleashed is indicative of the classic God of War games, then I think that the Jedi games are indicative of the God of War like 2018. Also.
Yeah, for sure. Like
Because
far more
how it
depth
has, like,
and actually
closer-
structure to like how it works.
Well, I have a soft spot for classic God of War and Force Unleashed just because like it's the ultimate power fantasy.
They're fun games to play, and like I enjoy like a lot of stuff within them. But I'm not gonna pretend that they're better storylines. Like,
Oh yeah,
just because your character is OP does not make them interesting. Like,
yeah.
Well, especially for like the second Force Unleashed game, it's like
They are real to me.
that's where all the memes come from. Not the story.
I love Sam Witwer though.
Yeah,
I cannot get enough
he's
of him.
ultimately
Such
what
a
makes this
phenomenal-
character, and I found it interesting that like as of the second one, they actually brought him back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They brought him back to be one of the Purge troopers that are hunting after Cal in the game series.
What?
Yeah, they did.
Really? Which one?
Oh, it's the one
shit.
that like calls out the ISB and is all like it's a weak organization compared to the Inquisitores and Vader.
Okay, wait a
I'm
minute.
thinking of the Inquisitors.
Wait a minute. Hold on. So you have like the ultimate Star Wars nerd who knows his actor, ultimate Star Wars nerd actor who looks like a supermodel, and you have him play a fucking stormtrooper?
Well, a Purge trooper, but yeah, basically.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's what the Disney's doing with this man?
No, I did a couple of cool
he
things
did
with
voice,
them.
He voiced Darth Maul too.
Yeah, he's played a couple
Oh,
of
pretty good
he
extras.
voiced Darth Maul in the animated series, and he did it like once for Han Solo. It's like, get fucked. Come on, you have the ultimate man for your franchise, and like they just disrespect him with all these small roles when this guy's got some fucking range on him.
He does. I do want him to see him in more stuff because he is awesome. If you hear about his auditioning process for Starkiller, it's so interesting.
He is ultimately what makes Starkiller an actual character, and even then, bare minimally so, considering the story that they're working with. But still, that was a cool appearance in the game because, like, I haven't set that up yet. Because it is right before a section where Cal goes full beast mode and actually embraces the dark side. So it's kind of thematic, where you get to see Sam Witwer right before you get to pull a Force Unleashed into the game. And like, it actually works within structured controls. Like, you get the baseline Force Unleashed level power when you use the dark side, but it's only temporary. And, it fuzzles up your vision, gets you into like this, hate mode that like, bogs things up, doesn't allow you to like concentrate when it comes to doing your particular attacks. Like, that is structured gameplay with your story. Like, that is a far better way of using the dark side as a part of your gameplay. And like overall, that allowed gameplay progression far more than even previous Star Wars games before Force Unleashed for the rest of the series. Because Cal Kestis is like this PTSD-ridden Jedi who goes through these games like slowly recovering himself as a part of his arc, like through his PTSD, the trauma that he suffered, in order to become a far greater Jedi over time.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think Cal Kestis is a much better written character. My argument is that Lucasfilm doesn't know what they're doing with their actors, except, like, I guess for some of them. When you have
Lucasfilm has never understood what to do with their actors since the very beginning.
Okay, you know what? That's a good point. That is a very good point.
Somewhat.
But except for like, who's the guy? I know his last name's Mulligan, but what's his first name?
Brennan Lee Mulligan. I don't know.
Yes, the ultimate Star Wars character.
Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Yep, from Dropout. Totally. That should be. I'm just kidding. He'd probably make a great Star Wars character, but yeah, no, he's not in Star Wars.
He'd do a great voice, cool little voice. Yeah.
Who's the actor who plays Cal Kestis?
Oh, Cameron
Monaghan.
Yeah. Who ironically also was the Joker.
Yeah,
in Gotham.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's got some range. I feel like that Lucasfilm knows what to do with him in video games, but like they were too scared to put him like on the big screen for some reason.
It's not really a scare factor. They explained it themselves that they want the games to not be like, limited by the fact that like, what if they do something in like a show that like, leaves him, limited to just down this path towards this show appearance for like what they're doing in the next game. So I think it's wise that they're waiting until the trilogy is over and then have him like guest star in something.
I have a question for you, Victor. Because I've played Survivor as well, but I played it like a year ago when it first came out.
I'm recently playing New Game Plus.
Nice. I might replay it after this.
I got the rainbow saber on, and like that's really awesome. Where it just like changes color every time you hit someone.
That's awesome. What do you think of Cal and Marin's relationship? Because like I thought like I shipped it. But then it was just all of a sudden a thing in the second game. I'm like, oh, okay.
I mean,
it's like,
I feel that's kind of like the deal with Star Wars relationships at this point. Like, Princess Leia only got like really heavy and active with Han by the time of episode 5, rather than episode 4, where it was mostly just the two of them bickering.
I guess that's true.
So, like, I feel, that's kind of par for the course, especially considering that they just introduced Marin like towards the end of Fallen Order. So
don't you guys remember at the end of Last Jedi when like they all met for the first time, and then the next movie all the 3 main cast members, they're like, hey, we're the bestest of friends and we're arguing like friends.
Yeah, that one's more the mistake of like, not having characters really meet each other truly until the second movie in your trilogy rather than the first one, which like was both the case with Cal Kestis and for Luke Skywalker. But yeah. And like, but that's the biggest thing that like these two games add to things is the lore. Like they truly take advantage of like what had come before in adding to things, but also making stuff themselves that influences things. Like you have these truly amazingly done PTSD-ridden Inquisitors that are like actual characters. Compared to the rest of the series.
It's the best interpretation. I'll say it's the best interpretation of the Inquisitors that we've gotten across any Star Wars media.
Bar none.
Because in Rebels they were too
as Rebels, but yeah.
Yeah, in Rebels they were too kiddie, I felt like, because I feel like that whole series was bogged down by its age rating.
Beyond Jason Isaacs.
In Kenobi,
not just kiddie, but like cartoonishly evil.
Yeah, like they're flying away with their lightsabers. I'm like, okay,
Jesus Christ.
And then in Kenobi, they were just like, we had a whole episode dedicated to that. So, if you
we went over this topic exactly. I just want to point that as one example, but and in terms of stuff that they added like expanding on other material, like they go into the Night Sister massacre in the Clone Wars by General Grievous and like what the after effects are through Marin. And it's part of why I hope that they address more of the stuff added by these games in later material. It doesn't necessarily have to be Cal Kestis, but like, maybe show a younger Marin for this new Tales of the Empire short arts coming up on May the 4th this year. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that would be awesome. Other stuff that like was uniquely their own for Jedi Survivor is that like they have their own ISB plot in order to like round up Jedi. They're like trying to circumvent the Inquisitors. They feel like they could do a better job. The ISB being basically the FBI of Star Wars, and like you may know them like from Andor, pretty famous Star Wars show right
I was
now.
about to ask. Yeah, I remember Andor.
And like I knew them even before from like Legends material and stuff like that. They're an awesome organization, but like this game expanded upon them a lot more in canon by like actually showcasing like what kind of threat they would pose, and a unique idea of like how an organization not meant to go after the Jedi would go after the Jedi and still do a good job of it with their plots. So that was really cool, showing some infighting in the Empire, even for a game that wasn't necessarily about the Empire. The sequel more went into the subject of the High Republic, which is also a recent thing that projects have been going in with Amanda Steinberg's The Acolyte. Looking forward to that. Like I enjoyed that they're going into more obscure topics in the same way that Clone Wars did like years ago, back when that was on the air. Like this is sort of the next thing doing that, like actually expanding in new ways upon Star Wars material and going into old obscure stuff with Star Wars material as well. Yeah,
that's what Star Wars is always like. What people loved it even originally for is what the new stuff that it brought to the table. And like even looking at Survivor, like the alien races, like Turgle.
Yeah,
oh my! Like, I love Turgle, bro.
Just when I thought, like the first game, delivered mostly in creatures rather than like like the actual characters that you interact with. And then the sequel did far more when it comes to actual like people that you run into.
And one of the main antagonists, I forget his name. Ravis? Was it Ravis?
Yeah, Ravis is the same species as Dirge from the 2003 Clone Wars, which is like a badass mercenary that regrows like Wolverine with Goop.
Very cool to see that species make its way back.
Yeah, it finally returned, and it was a great way of using it because the whole plot was around like the High Republic, like this High Republic Jedi needing a bounty hunter that could live as far back as the High Republic, and well, you found the species to do it, like one that's literally immortal. So that was really awesome. Like I enjoyed like both games immensely in like how they delivered that, and I like really hope that they do more with that, like how they're expanded into other material or like just continue doing it with these games.
Yeah,
epic stuff. And even possibly like tying it in for the first time with Star Wars Outlaws potentially. Ubisoft game is good. We'll see there because apparently that one takes place more in Empire Strikes Back and like Return of the Jedi times compared to this one, which actually, as of this latest game, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, it takes place as of Obi-Wan Kenobi, like the same year, like as the Obi-Wan show. Like that's where, and the second game takes place.
So glad that they're just going right back to the OT timeline. Can't get enough of it.
Here's another fact in terms of tying into that show, though. The Path, the organization that Obi-Wan like hides out with in the middle of the show, that like hides missing Jedi, it comes from this game. Like it doesn't come from Obi-Wan. This game was the one who came up with the concept of like that idea.
Oh yeah, the one with Ice Cube's son and Kenobi, the Path.
Yeah, the Path, the Hidden Path is the name of the organization.
Yeah, so stupid.
Which like hides missing Jedi. I mean, it's a good idea.
Might as well call it the Underground Railroad.
I mean, it had to be a thing, honestly, with how many Jedi that they have confirmed alive. Like, that's the only way that they could have them all survive at this point. Like, but here, like, the game gives that idea far more depth than just like, oh yeah, this is basically just the Underground Railroad. But like, here it's more the fact that like, it's a separate religion sort of supporting the Jedi in a way that like exists on this planet. Which is the planet Jedha from Rogue One, the one that the Death Star partially blows up in that film. So, like, it ties in from multiple avenues, from Obi-Wan, from Rogue One, and Andor, like, in a really cool degree. Like, I loved how that concept spread. It allowed things to be expanded in a way that, like, other Jedi that they introduced could tie into this concept far better. Like, I'm far interested in the hidden path that they introduced here than how they showed it in the Obi-Wan series. Especially considering that, like, this section of the hidden path was founded by a character that we're actually invested in, Sir Junda, who is like the master of Cal Kestis. Like more of an unconventional one who like nearly embraced the dark side and is like fighting her inner demons. So I really love that like expansion for her of like growth and development.
Yeah, her arc in the first game is very well done.
Absolutely, and I love how they expanded here too. Like even for the more comedic like relief characters, gotta have one in these things. Grease, who's like your pilot across like the first game.
Greasy money, baby.
Yeah, like even just in the first game, he already has like a master catchphrase, and by like the second game, he's all in depth, like as well as still delivering massive one-liners.
I love the glup shittos in these games. They're so good.
like it is really cool. And gameplay is also just like, it feels, again, as I mentioned earlier, incredibly balanced to the point where your progression with these characters is like greater throughout even just one game individually, but also between both games. Like you feel like you're getting even more powerful and skillful in your talents. And in the second game, it's more about uniting with your allies. So, like, you have a sort of Batman Arkham dual play dynamic with them in terms of, like, working alongside your allies, where, like, it shows your reliance on them, but also your strengths of working with them as well, like, in terms of deploying it tactically. And I enjoyed that. That was, like, a cool concept. Like, the game really tests how much you rely on BD1. By the second one, and that is really a interesting kind of perspective. Like, testing your talents to the max. The fault with New Game Plus, though, as far as like how I've tested it so far, is that compared to other games where like your New Game Plus thing is more just affecting stats, they like change how powerful the enemies are in order to make it seem like you can get killed in 2 hits instead of 5 or whatever. But here the idea is just like bringing harder enemies in earlier, which just makes me feel like, by the time I get to later stages, what's going to even happen when like these enemies are supposed to be introduced? Like, do my sections just feel normalized at that point? Like, that's kind of the paradox there. So I feel New Game Plus was kind of haphazardly put together this time, compared to the first one, where like I truly felt like, it was just a normal New Game Plus, grand, but it wasn't terrible.
Yeah. There was a whole thing, like the first month that Survivor came out with the technical side of it and the way that it was put together. Like, I played it on PlayStation, so I really didn't experience a lot of those issues, but man, was it bad.
Yeah, there's initial errors, but, in AAA games, that's kind of a common curse, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it falls into this question of like, should we just accept that this is how it is now? Or
it's a paradox of having to deal with it, or like reason like when you're gonna get these things. My 2 cents to all podcast viewers, I would say wait. Most times I would say, hey, wait, unless you feel it is truly worth it. Like you truly feel that this is the experience that is going to be worth your time. Or just like wait for updates at the very least, like even if you want to play it immediately.
Or a sale, if you're waiting long.
Indeed, sales.
I was gonna say
all that.
I was gonna say go on strike and like let them know. It's like we're not buying your games until you do what we say.
Yeah, but then the question you have to ask about that is, will that make any real change for a company like EA?
Like I said, major paradox.
I mean,
literally the only thing that got them to act was if we accused them of gambling. Like, we need to accuse EA of legit crimes before they act of anything.
I was gonna say, like, if you're successful enough, influence enough people to where you say no, like, we're not buying your games, right? And to the point that where they're just not making money. Like, they have to say, like, okay, like, they have to come out and say, all right, we got like a choice of like A, B, and C in your Star Wars game. What do you guys want? And then like you could like get the option to choose like on Twitter or something. Yeah. And
like that is one thing that I did not like in the process. Like this has happened with no Star Wars game before, and yet we still had to deal with this nonsense where like, oh, we're going to wait until we receive more sales on the first game before we announce any sort of sequel being made. It's like, dude, this already was like one of the biggest games of that year. Like, come on. Like, you know people want this goddamn thing. Stop trying to reach. Like, here. Like, this is just begging for more.
And at that point, people are.
Jedi game.
I was just gonna say, like, at that point, like, by the time the first game came out, again, EA was the only one that had the license with Star Wars at the time.
Yeah.
So people were already starved for good Star Wars games, and after the first two Battlefronts, people like shat all over. Of course, anything next to that is going to be good, and for the most part, it was pretty good. I think it was a great Jedi Fallen Order is a great game.
Absolutely. Jedi Survivor, also really amazing game. Like, excellent follow-up. Like, I feel even post-game content was improved. Just like there wasn't much to do after you're done with Jedi Fallen Order, aside from collecting all those damn ponchos, I guess.
Yeah, I enjoyed the
get all the colors
structure.
of the ponchos.
Yeah. I enjoyed the structure of the first game, like the backtracking, the sort of
Yeah, it's a good Metroid linear statement, but yeah, after you're done, there's not really much to do.
Yeah.
But here, it's not just collectibles. They motivate you by a bounty hunter side quest.
So good.
Which, yeah, was an amazing side quest. Like, I love the concept, like, where you get to sort of be a Jedi bounty hunter. Like, that's a cool idea. Like, hunting other bounty hunters who are hunting for you.
I love that the character gives you that quest.
Why does that sound so familiar?
It's so cool.
I mean, yeah, a lot of bounty hunter Star Wars games allow you to do that, but, like, I don't know. They kind of play with it.
No, I'm talking about a specific character who has the Force, who has a lightsaber, and is a bounty hunter. But whatever, I guess they don't exist according to Kathleen Kennedy anymore.
Oh, you mean in in Legends? Yeah, now I think I know what you're talking about. I mean, they kind of do, but yeah, we haven't gotten that far into the future yet. But
yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, with Outcast is also clearly done reluctantly, and yeah, it's also an excuse to both get you upgrades and also find the different parts throughout the different levels for your lightsabers. Like, it actually motivates you to go out there instead of just saying just find all these collectibles and that's kind of it. So it kind of makes me hope that hopefully that there is more side quests the next time around. Add more of those. That was cool. Sort of side objectives of interacting with the galaxy. Like, I hope it's kind of like Arkham Asylum, where we only had 1 or 2 side missions in the first game, but then it expands later on. So that would be cool. I definitely hope for that. Simply because the one flaw I'd say with Jedi Survivor was that by comparison to the first game, you don't have as many planets to explore. The sacrificial nature of having more open world elements is that they limit it to just a few worlds that you mainly explore. And one is literally just a boss fight. You go there and you do it to fight the final boss. That's the goal. That is the entire purpose of this planet.
So what draws you into the Jedi games so much? Why specifically them? Is it just purely nostalgia, or just the writing about it? What brings you in? Why talk about this today?
Like I said, it was mainly because the incoming release of Star Wars Outlaws, but also it really truly is the writing. This adventure with Cal Kestis has been one that has invested me over the course of years of this two-parter leading into a third part, and along with an amazing list of supporting characters that you run into. When a death happens, it feels earned. You truly feel that you've spent a lot of time, even with a character who's only been in one entry. It feels like you've known them over years, both from the bonus content that you collect throughout the worlds in order to find out about this character, but also just in general. They feel like they engage you in his journey and the people he interacts with. And that truly is what I like about it. It's an exploration game to truly find out about the world of Star Wars as a whole.
Victor, I have a recommendation for you. I don't know if you've played it, but if you like really good characters, Knights of the Old Republic.
I have.
Oh,
I've played Knights of the Old Republic, man. Come on.
Yeah, it's old, but it's one of my favorites.
Dude, that is like fucking peak Star Wars for me.
Yeah.
That's like not George Lucas related.
Please remake, please.
Dude, they were, and then something went wrong.
They said that it is alive and well was the last thing that they said, and that was like a couple weeks ago. I trust in the Force.
Sure.
I think at least 2 months ago, but yeah. Like obviously, you know, I've been in this thing since I was like a little kid. Like, you know, I obviously know about like the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic. But yeah. And those games are fun. Like, don't get me wrong. But like, yeah, in terms of like modern ones that exist today, like, yeah, this is like top tier.
Yeah, they're old. They're very old.
Not to mention, like, yeah, Knights of the Old Republic and the Old Republic is a different genre of gaming. Like, these are RPGs. Like, yeah, the JAG games are like, you know, solo action adventure games.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a different animal altogether. Still amazing, but yeah, like, yeah, I don't really label the RPGs in the same way because yeah, they're not going for the same gameplay.
Yeah.
Which, like, yeah, like something as remastered as like Final Fantasy, you know, 7 Rebirth or something like that, or Star Wars, that would be excellent. Like,
I would love to see, like, I know that it's off on like Saber Interactive, I think, is working on it, but I would love to see like Larian tackle Knights of the Old Republic KOTOR, because they did recently Baldur's Gate 3, which is also an amazing game, and I think that like KOTOR is perfectly in their wheelhouse.
I mean, so far they got
absolutely.
a studio on that series, but
If they did remake Knights of the Old Republic, imagine if like they got their hands on the second one, and if like what it would look like for like a complete ending. Because I remember that Obsidian saying like that KOTOR 2, like they couldn't finish up like with the story, but then again, like with Obsidian, like which one of their games is like completely finished anyway?
That's true.
It's just like, if you guys ever seen Jimmy Neutron, where like he has like one of his villains who's like a brilliant
Yes,
scientist.
that's the one thing I remember from Jimmy Neutron.
Wait, hold on. What's his name? It's like on the tip of my tongue. I remember.
Professor Finbar Calamitous.
Like he was brilliant, but he couldn't finish anything. And like apparently Jimmy's teacher had him as a student. And it's like, oh, he failed because he never finished his homework or anything. And like he had like this big Iron Man suit that he pretty much made, but like he didn't put a bathroom in it, and that's why it was considered incomplete.
The one thing that sticks out in my mind about that episode is like it has like a pan across his room while he's like planning his evil plot, and he has a puzzle, but it has one piece out, and he couldn't finish it. It's just one piece of the puzzle that's like right next to the puzzle, and he couldn't figure out.
I miss that show.
Yeah. So that's the big takeaway: is Jimmy Neutron is great.
So more of the story is Obsidian is the Jimmy Neutron villain.
Yes.
Well, awesome stuff. I really love talking about Star Wars. I mean, if you guys wanted to, we can make this whole episode just a Star Wars episode.
I mean, it depends on what you guys want to talk about. But yeah.
AJ, did you have something on your mind that wasn't Star Wars related, or did you just want to keep going Star Wars?
I did not plan on talking about Star Wars. See, here's the thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Here's the thing, y'all. It's 2024, right?
Yep.
In a world where we are inundated with choices, you open up Netflix, you see 1,000 different shows, right? You open up Disney Plus because you hate yourself, and you see 1,000 different options. You open up fucking Tubi, and you see that there's just so many things to talk about, right? And today, I have to choose one, because there's one thing, a certain game franchise that's seen a certain amount of success because of a certain TV show that's come out recently that I wanted to talk about. Or I could use this opportunity to shout out an indie comic creator that I want more people to know.
Ooh,
now,
choices.
The thing is, I can talk at lengths about that certain game franchise, but not necessarily the other thing. I can maybe talk like 5 minutes tops, because So I'm gonna flip a coin, I think.
I swear we need
And-
like a Two-Face gif for this.
Let's see if the coin thinks you're telling the truth. I do not have a coin with me, so I'm going to flip this sour gummy worms bag.
The ingredients you lose.
No,
The title you die.
yeah, if it lands on heads, which is the front, I'm gonna talk about that big franchise. If it's tails, I'm gonna do indie. So I'm gonna flip this.
Fallout.
All right, so Fallout.
Yeah,
I
knew
knew
it.
you were going to talk about Fallout.
Yes. Okay.
Like, is there
Okay,
anything
okay,
really
okay.
going on with like video game
So-
adaptations right now beyond, I guess, The Last of Us is filming? Like,
There's
Well,
Sonic,
Halo failed,
Sonic,
I guess.
Minecraft movie, the Borderlands movie.
Oh, yeah, Borderlands.
yeah,
I
there's a
forgot
lot of
it has
stuff like
movie.
in production.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just Halo and Fallout.
Yeah,
Well,
and
but
only
to
one
be
of them's
fair,
good.
To be fair, I pretty much only seen Fallout stuff everywhere. I haven't seen like much on Borderlands except like Jack Black like plays the robot. I've seen Knuckles come out, but like nobody's talking about it, or I'm just not looking at the content. But like everywhere I look, anywhere I go on the internet, it's Fallout everything right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because normies have now picked up Fallout, and it's such
No.
it's such a weird thing to talk about the Fallout series as a whole, because I pride myself on having played almost every Fallout game except for Brotherhood of Steel, which I heard is really bad, and it's come a very long way, a very strange way. Out of all the things to have become a huge franchise, when you look at where it started, you would not guess Fallout. So I'm not sure if I want to talk about like the TV show right off the bat, or if I want to talk about it in reference to the rest of the series. I don't know how familiar y'all are with Fallout.
I'm vaguely familiar with the
Hardly.
premise of Fallout.
Hardly.
I'm sorry.
You would have to talk to me as if I was like a fifth grader, because I remember playing like a part of, I want to say, New Vegas with like at a friend's
Yeah.
house, and that's like the extent of my knowledge. We only like played like one part
I
of it.
haven't even gotten to that long. I'm a terrible gamer.
Okay.
Uh,
Wow.
It was either New Vegas or Fallout 3. Actually, no, I was wrong. Yeah, it was Fallout 3.
I say that just as I
Okay.
described playing this massive game.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Okay.
Gather round,
So-
kids.
All right. Gather round.
Gather
Right.
around, kiddies.
So the thing about Fallout is that the real star is the world, right? The characters are great, especially in New Vegas, which I used to love 3. They used to be my favorite. Recently, I've been playing New Vegas, and I'm like, oh yeah, now that this shit slaps for good reason. And one huge part of it is the factions, right? Another thing that the show goes into. And
Wait,
I
hold
think-
on. Remember, we're fifth graders, so you gotta get into the premise, man.
so factions are basically like a lot of people come together and they want to control the world, basically.
I love this turn the episode is taken, basically explaining Fallout to little kids.
And I think the way that I think I am gonna fuck it. I'm gonna talk about New Vegas because that's been on my mind more than the show.
Yeah, might as well.
It's weird. It's weird that the more popular thing, and the
Everyone
more
is talking about the
relevant
show,
thing-
so don't worry.
Yeah. New Vegas is always relevant though, because fans don't shut the fuck up about it. But what I like about it is the way that it handles politics. It does it very smart. Basically, you have a bunch of the whole premise of the game is that you start out being shot in the head by this man in a checkered suit, right? You don't know. All you know is that you're a courier. You were delivering a package, and you were shot in the head because whoever did this wanted control of that package, right? They
Ooh,
wanted what you were
What's
carrying.
that courier? No, I'm just kidding.
A courier is like the mailman who delivers mail and the dogs bark at him.
Okay.
and that's all you're given, right?
Yeah.
And as the game goes on, as more and more things start to unravel, and it's very choice based. It boils down to like the package that you delivered basically controls the fate of New Vegas and the Mojave Wasteland. And with that, you sort of have to decide which faction you're going to join. And it is ultimately three choices. There is the New California Republic, the NCR, who they basically want to bring liberal democracy back to the wasteland, right? Like they are all about old world values, and like they want to restore the government. And you as a player will initially look at that and go like, oh, they're the good choice, right? They're like the optimum choice.
They're the choice to return
especially when
normalcy.
Yeah, especially compared to the next faction, which is Caesar's Legion. And they are, at first glance and at many other glances, they are the bad guys, essentially. They are horrible people. They base themselves off of like Roman culture and all of the downsides to that as well. Like they have slaves. Their women are pretty much just breeding stock. Like it's a very, very horrible and tough society. But their whole logic is that, well, Rome had a very thriving society. They had a very thriving culture that lasted for years.
Is this basically just Maxi Zeus's faction?
Well, that's Greece, but I guess.
Yeah,
but
bad.
Same thing.
Same shit. They're all European.
Damn. I guess I needed my racism moment after everyone else did.
And then there is the mysterious Mr. House, who is the owner of said package, who you were supposed to deliver it to. You could join him, or you could go independent. You could stand up for independent New Vegas and then recruit some of the smaller factions to help you. Now, what's cool is that every faction has their own crippling flaw. With the New California Republic, the NCR, yes, they want to restore the old government, but that's also the downsides, right? Is that, well, like the U.S. was essentially bombed because that government failed, right? Where, you want to restore the old world, this democracy, but that essentially gave out after a while, and they are also stretched very thin, right? They're overtaxing people. They are, they have some shady characters in there, and the people up top don't really care about what's actually going on in the wasteland. And of course, Caesar's Legion, well, that's a horrible society anyway because of what they're doing. They crucify people, they kill indiscriminately. But there's a merchant at one of their forts, and you talk to him, and he's like, "Why would you support this legion?" And the merchant is like, "Well, yeah, they're horrible people, but when you're trading in their territory, it's very safe because raiders know not to fuck with them. So, like, as far as trading routes and stuff like that, they're actually they're a good choice because of that, like economically."
Interesting.
And the game sort of asks you and puts you in a position of what it asks you, what do you think an ideal society is? Do you think it's one where, like economically thriving, or one where everyone has a say, or you can go independent, but there's also the factor of, you're up top, like not one person can't just control everything, right? Eventually, you might not be enough. And that's usually what I go for. I usually go for an independent New Vegas, and then at the end it'll have like a slideshow of your different choices and like how that affects the wasteland.
Gotta love those choice-based skill trips in games.
Yeah. And it almost, it's one of those things where it's very bittersweet because it's almost like it'll convince you whatever choice you made is the wrong one.
Oh yeah.
Because there isn't really a right choice to this.
From the very few that I have played, that is the commonality with them. When it comes to choice-based gaming, it is to guilt you into the opposite option, because then that allows you to make the most bang for your buck by going back and playing the other one and thinking, no, that was the choice. That was the right one.
In this case, I think it works to its benefit because the whole tagline of the series is war never changes. And what that really means is it doesn't mean that war literally never changes, that people will always kill each other, but instead that war destroys everything that it touches. And that what you see now, these different factions and these gangs fighting each other over control of the wasteland, is that this is what it's left behind. This is what is left, and moving forward, it has to be up to someone like you, the player, to sort of change the tides of that, which is a little hopeful and a little scary and high stakes. And so as far as the larger plot, I think it's just brilliant with that. It asks a lot of like philosophical questions, especially when I haven't played it in a while, but I've heard that Honest Hearts does a really good job with that as well. Very, very thought-provoking. Another Obsidian game that we briefly touched upon earlier, who also worked on KOTOR. So if you're interested, even a little interested in Fallout, New Vegas is on sale right now for like $7. You get all the DLC on Steam. Very old game. If you can take some crashes and occasional frame stutters, if you don't mind modding, then definitely check it out. Otherwise, it's on Game Pass as well. Very fun. The characters as well has some of the best written companions as well. That's my brief recommendation. Otherwise, the show is excellent, and I love it very, very much. That's also a very good starting point if you're also interested. If you don't feel like buying a game right now, if you're like, you know what, it's old and weird, then definitely check out the show, because it's not as politically it's not as politically woven into the narrative as something like New Vegas, but again, it's a great start and introduction into the world.
Indeed, I think it was supposed to be separate, which makes sense for a choice-based game tying in. No,
this story, the show is canon to the universe.
Yeah, that's my point, though. It needed to be like self-contained, though, in like a different place than those games.
Yeah,
because with a choice-based game, it could be any path. Like, it's kind of understandable. Most things that tie into a choice-based game, even other choice-based games in that universe, typically don't wish to tie in directly.
Wait a minute. So let me get this straight. So everything in the show is canon to the video games?
Yes. That's what I like about Fallout, is that it's not an adaptation. It is just a story that takes place in that world, which I think that is a very good way to approach large RPGs like this, is because the real star of Fallout is the world. Is like you could tell any story in it, really. Like in something like, that's why I kind of prefer it over something like The Last of Us, because they already had a strong thing to go with the game. They had a strong jumping off point, and they had slight variations throughout. But I think because we have the game for The Last of Us, I don't think it hit as hard, because I'm like, well, I've experienced this already.
Yeah, it was already the ultimate combination of film and TV.
Yeah.
That's how
with Fallout, it's its own original story that just so happens to take place in the Fallout, the larger Fallout canon.
So they're making their own original story with the tools that they already have.
Yeah, and they pay very loving homage to both the newer games and the old, like the very old ones, like first 2 games they paid loving homage to. And I'm very excited. Season 2 was recently greenlit, so I'm very excited to see what they will do next.
Oh wow!
And New Vegas fans will convince you that it is the worst thing to happen to Fallout because they, like you were saying, Victor, with like it being a choice-based game.
Yeah, there's no choice. Like, this is the only way that they could do the narrative, and I've been seeing like complaints online about that.
It's because, I'll be vague with it, they gave a semi-definitive end to New Vegas. But we don't know enough for that to be true.
That's the thing, like, whenever
anything.
they continue a story, they leave it somewhat definitive, you know, with anything of a continuation of a choice-based game, which is a paradox. Like, they kind of need to leave it vague or distant enough.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not like they didn't pick canon endings before. Like, even going back to the first Fallout, it's still canon that, like, your character... Because the whole plot of that is basically like, oh, super mutants are being made and people are capturing people and turning them into super mutants. Go and stop the bad guy from doing that. That's still the canon ending, that your character goes and stops the bad guy, right? And no one complained then. Like, sure, you could join the bad guy, but no one was like, oh... No one looked at that and went, but I wanted the canon ending to be the other way around. They're ruining the future games. Like, no, just chill out, dude. Like,
they're going to make some sort of definitive choice. They're just going to be vague about it, so that way you feel secure in your choices mattering.
Yeah. But I also feel like any choice that they made involving New Vegas, a game that so many people hold as like holy artifact, like this thing that can't be touched. Any answer other than their own would have been wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
there's no
I'm
way.
glad that they're sticking with their guns and bringing back some of the old stuff. Because
But
yeah, I think it's gonna be good. It's gonna be very good. But yes, check out Fallout is good, and that is. I'll leave it at that.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. I wasn't convinced at first, but now I'm more on the leading side of convinced. I think I'll give this a check out. I'll definitely check out the first 2 episodes just so I give it a fair run. If I like it, then I'll probably come back and report on that later.
Yeah, the first one is a little messy, but by the time the second episode, you can feel the plot kicking into gear. Like, just give it like the first 2 episodes to see if you'll like it or not.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, we're getting pretty close to time, so I'm going to make what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to make it fast, and you could say it's going to be over in a flash, perhaps?
You're talking about Lobo!
Yes, I'm talking about Lobo. No, fuck no, I'm not talking about Lobo right now. God damn it, get out of here. We'll talk about him and his Green Lantern ring some other time.
His purple Green Lantern ring.
Wait, what?
Inside joke, everyone.
Anyway, I really wanted to talk about The Flash today. I don't know why it specifically came up on mine, but I mean, I have been reading an older comic as of late. But yeah, I wanted to talk about The Flash because I think he's a hero that, well, not only is he a lot more popular than I thought, because just like a couple of weeks ago, I was getting back from the airport and I had a Flash shirt on, and then everybody's like, hey, it's the Flash, it's the Flash, it's the Flash. I love the Flash. It's like really? Is it because the movie came out? And it's like,
oh, hell no.
Or is it the TV show? It's like, I want to believe that these people are genuinely Flash fans.
Maybe they thought you were the Flash, like the actual Flash.
I mean, John Mulaney got
God,
that.
I really hope not, because the latest interpretation of Flash was Ezra Miller, and I'd rather not be associated with that movie or that person.
Ezra Miller, who's done nothing wrong ever.
Oh, would you look at this? It's the Flash at the airport.
Back from Hawaii, I see.
But yeah,
nowhere to run this time.
Nowhere to run this time, Flash. It was me, Barry. I made sure that everyone ganged up on you at the airport. But no, yeah. I more specifically, I'm gonna be talking about Barry Allen very quickly. This was a version of the Flash that funny enough, I got into it because of the CW show, because I didn't know any better at the time that CW is not exactly the best way to interpret comic books, specifically DC comic books. And I'm thinking, yeah, I know, right? Who would have thought? But I got into the show, I liked it, and then funny enough, at the same time when I was in school, I was reading Blackest Night, and it just so happened to have the Flash with Green Lantern in it, and I was like really getting into Green Lantern. So after doing a lot more research and watching a bit more of the show, then getting bored of the show, I just figured, hey, this guy's actually pretty cool. I actually really like Barry Allen, and I started doing like a bit more research on, like, say, like Wally West, and I could see how people like him, like, preferred to Barry Allen, since Barry Allen's a bit more serious. But what really makes me like Barry Allen as the Flash, it's mostly the Reverse Flash. He's one of my favorite current DC villains, because the fact I've yet to meet another DC villain besides probably Mr. Nobody from Doom Patrol that is just 100% petty, and that's their motivation to be a villain.
Yeah, it reminds me of, I know y'all aren't familiar, but Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. He's just, he's pure evil, and his only motive is just to fuck up the hero's life for no reason.
I can think of a few, but yeah.
Multiple heroes in the bloodline.
Yeah.
He's particularly petty. It's more like Eobard's deal. Like, you know, it's not just, the common pettiness that you would see in Obsession with a villain, but yeah.
I know, it's just an odd concept to me, but yet I just love it so much. Just like a villain that's from the future that can't kill the main protagonist, like their arch nemesis. So what they do, like the next best thing, they just like make every single day of their life just the worst day ever. It's like just because they can't kill them. I don't know why I like that concept so much. Maybe it's just funny to me that that's the Flash is pretty much the only person who in the Justice League or like the Justice League universe that has a villain that's like that. But I don't know, it's like super funny. That, and also the Flash, it really surprised me just like how many villains that he has. Compared to, say, like Batman. I think like Batman and the Flash in DC are the ones with like the most villains throughout anything. I would think that like maybe Superman's like a third. I'm pretty sure
close.
I'm
I'd
wrong.
say he's number 4 next to like Spider-Man, Batman, and the Flash.
No, I'm talking about like in DC.
Oh yeah, if just DC, then yeah, he's number 3. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I had like no idea like how many villains that like the Flash had in his rogues gallery until I started doing like a lot more research on him. I'm like, wow, this guy must have been like really, really popular, and he was. And in many different interpretations, especially like in like the Golden Age, the Silver Age, like when he was Jay Garrick and not Barry Allen. And then it went on to Wally West.
I mean, that's another thing. Like he's practically multiple superheroes, so that's also what builds up his rogues gallery.
That, and I believe the Flash. I could be very, very wrong about this, so please. Interrupt me and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the Flash is the superhero that introduced the concept of the multiverse.
He was.
Am I wrong about that?
He did introduce the concept in the Flash of Two Worlds, where Jay Garrick and Barry Allen crossed over, where it was revealed that the Jay Garrick Flash comic books that existed in Barry Allen's world were dreams sent over from Earth 2 into the writer's head that he then wrote down in his comic books in Barry's world.
Oh no.
That's awesome.
Marvel stole that in Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah, they literally did that whole concept, which is why I was like, perfectly accepting of it when I saw it in the movie. I was like, oh yeah, just like Jay Garrick. Makes sense.
Yeah. No, yeah, I really like that the Flash was like what I get like why like he would be like tied so well or so much to like multiversal concepts, especially like ever since they did Flashpoint. That was one of my personal favorite Flash stories.
It's also
I should probably
WBs.
mention, like, what? Yeah,
Because they keep on doing it over and over. This is only Flash story.
Oh my god, I'm gonna fuck. Okay, so I forgot to mention Flash is so a lot of people have like the misconception that he's fast. Like, sure, yeah, that's his like main superpower, but he basically has like the Force, but like in the form of speed. That's kind of like the default like.
So you're telling
reaction.
me? Wait, hold on, Hatter. You're telling me he has some kind of speed force?
Speed force? Yeah, I know. It's a crazy concept, right? Like for people, yeah, it's for the normies. Just making sure that they're staying along. But yeah, pretty much like the superpower that showed up, like where like Jedi, like they have telepathy, or. Yeah, they have telepathy for the Flash. It's just like running really fast. That's like the default superpower. You can pretty much almost do anything with the Speed Force that I can remember. I mean, especially like time travel, and that's where like the whole Flashpoint paradox story comes
Phase
in.
through surfaces, turn invisible, create tornadoes, lightning storms, travel through time, dimensions,
Transfer electric shocks.
Yeah. And, vibrate and shatter matter.
Yep. Yeah, it's a crazy concept. And then, oh my god, after doing research on this, apparently there are other forces like the Speed Force, such as the Strength Force.
All of them start with S, by the way. They are the Strength Force.
Jeez,
the
I've never heard of a concept of. I've never heard of a concept before to where there's multiple things that start with the same letter. Like what is it? Like God, it was just the Endless, the fucking Endless in DC, to where all of like the Endless start with the letter D. Never heard that before.
Yeah, they all have that concept too. But yeah, Barry Allen decided to steal it because, well, he rebooted the DC universe to add the Endless in the first place to it. So he gets free reign.
Yep, everybody gets to join in. The Endless gets to join in. Preacher gets to join in. The fucking Watchmen get to join in. Everything DC gets to join in. So there's that. Although I was going to rant about something else, I may rant about like the Flashpoint paradox instead. So, okay. So what is the Flashpoint paradox? So Flashpoint paradox is where Barry Allen unknowingly traveled back in time to save his mom. And that's his origin story. It's like his mom one day was killed. And his dad took the blame for it. And he's been looking for the killer ever since. And somehow accidentally fell into like a bunch of like chemicals while getting struck by lightning. And now, look, he's super fast. Yay, he's in red now. And then he finds out that his arch nemesis from the future, Reverse Flash, was his mother's killer, and they've been doing the same song and dance ever since. So with Flashpoint, he goes back in time to prevent his mom from getting killed, but that like it causes like a time ripple effect to where like everything's changed. It's kind of like a butterfly effect. Actually, it's exactly a butterfly effect. And because of this, he ends up making a world that sucks. Everything is like at war with one another, and pretty much the world is dying. And then like he goes back and to have his mom, just let his mom die, and that's supposed to fix everything, which it doesn't really do. It kind of sets everything back to normal, like with a few exceptions, and that's mainly a reason as to the writers just trying to reboot their entire universe. So like we were talking before, so DC can add
exist for only 5 years.
They can just cram in all the characters that they have all into one Earth, amongst other Earth. So like it's the new 52 Earth that it's a brand new concept to where we're just starting over again until like the next 4 years that fail, so we have to reboot it again. So what is this bothering? Why am I bringing this up? Main reason is because DC keeps trying to tell this story and they keep failing at it because like to properly interpret the story. They tried it in the third season of the CW Flash to where they fix Flashpoint Paradox in one episode, rather make it an entire season. The Flash movie with Ezra Miller that makes it as his first Flash movie ever, to where he already messes up with time travel and like he's his own villain instead of having any other villain be the main villain of the movie. What else did they attempt Flashpoint in?
The Flashpoint animated movie.
Yeah, which is more a recreation of it, basically. But yeah,
That one was like way more faithful.
ironically,
Like,
that one was better than the original comic because it was focusing on Barry Allen the whole time, rather than basically just being a tie-in event to the books that would then cross over as the New 52.
I'm sure that the new Suicide Squad game is going to get Flashpointed.
Oh my god!
Maybe.
Dude.
But
I mean,
that's
Barry is
a whole
dead,
different
so probably
conversation.
not.
That's a whole different conversation. So I won't bring up that open wound. But
And like, yeah, I don't know. Personally, I enjoyed the CW show, but like, I feel the move of like doing a shorter Flashpoint that was like mainly focused around the Flash was more a practicality of like getting all the actors who were doing other shows at the time in the same universe to come over would be a little impractical to do that same like giant level event Flashpoint.
Well, nonetheless stupid, because that was a terrible way to pay off that setup.
Because like the movie was the one that localized it in a way where like, no, you had the opportunity, you could bring in anyone you want, and you still screwed it up.
Right. Whatever. I mean, they just. I could have sworn there was like at least another attempt for Flashpoint, but like that was bad. But yeah, still, like I just the reason why I'm bringing up the Flash is because I just feel like Warner Brothers and pretty much anybody like DC doesn't really know what to do with the Flash except for the comic books, because with the Flash there's like a lot of wacky ideas that go into a guy that runs really fast, and it just seems like they squander these ideas because they just don't know what to do with the Flash. I mean, besides the comic books, I would think like the animated like shows like Justice League Unlimited have a good idea of like how to mess with the Speed Force or mess with the Flash with just the Justice League. But like when it just comes to the Flash on its own, it's like, how do you not get creative with this superhero that basically has the Force but for running fast?
Ironically, I felt the opposite. I more only got into like the Flash later on, where like initially in these animated projects, he's just kind of the comedic relief fast guy, the Speedy Gonzalez of the Justice League, until like I learned about his later more in-depth stuff, because it just seemed like surface level.
Oh, you talking about?
He's just super fast and
Are you talking about
immature kind of guy.
Wally West or Barry?
Yeah, it's more the misconception of like who Wally West is, because he was the Flash in, of course, like Young Justice, and in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. Like that stuff mainly limited him. Like he wasn't really doing that much with his speed in those shows.
Right.
Like until the very end, where like at the very end of the show, he used the FTL punch, faster than light punch, against Lex Luthor, and like opened up a door to the Speed Force, and like we fully saw only a glimpse of his intrigue there. But like that wasn't really that much. Like I felt like it was only by the time I did see stuff like the CW show and the comics that like I fully saw that like, oh yeah, he's able to do all this stuff. Cool.
Right.
And like it's kind of ironically like the opposite effect for me. Right?
No, I see what you're coming from. Yeah, but I guess that's just my little rant. Actually, no, I'm gonna finish this off with one last rant that was getting on my mind. So, Warner Brothers, what are you doing when it comes to casting your actors to be your superheroes? Because for some reason, unless you're Supergirl, why is it so hard to cast people with blonde hair to play your blonde hair superheroes? We have Barry Allen, who is a blonde. You have Oliver Queen, Green Arrow, who is a blonde. You have Arthur Curry, Aquaman, who is a blonde. Why is Supergirl the only one who gets fucking blonde hair in your movies and your TV shows? It's not important.
Wait, she didn't have it in the Flash movie.
Yeah, Sasha
Yeah,
Calle
well,
is not blonde. But, yeah.
So not that version of Supergirl, but the original Supergirl, or who played in like the movie that came out after the Christopher Reeve one. She had blonde hair, and then she makes a cameo in the movie. And then when it comes to the Supergirl show, Melissa Benoist, they had her stay with blonde hair, but then like everybody else doesn't get blonde hair.
I'm more a guy from the idea of like, you know, the Trinity in the Arrowverse probably would just look like, you know, an Aryan gang. Like, you know, coincidentally, like the main characters of this franchise just look like, you know, they're total, like, you know, like all of them are blonde. Like,
they would just be the guys from Peacemaker. They're like, Jesus
Christ. I was gonna say, so it's okay for Superman and Wonder Woman to have brown or black hair, and Bruce Wayne to have black hair when he's masked, but it's not okay for two masked individuals and one maskless individual that all have blonde hair.
Yeah, I mean, they also take off the masks a lot in live action media. That's kind of the whole thing there. In order to show off the actor faces, you know, all that stuff. That's kind of a common deal, which in Ezra Miller is regrettable.
Anyway, I think we're all good for now. That was fun. I'm glad we got to talk about Star Wars and Fallout. Thank you very much for listening. I think this went on a little bit longer than I hoped. That's okay. If you enjoyed what you liked, give a like and subscribe. It helps out.
Give a like and the subscribes.
Yeah, it helps out Chris. It doesn't help me. It just helps my sanity if I know that you're listening. Thank you guys very much for coming on. I did have a lot of fun chatting about Star Wars, Fallout, and a tad bit of Flash. I mean, I was pretty much just talking about it. Anyway, that's not important. Thank you guys very much for coming on. This was fun. Stick around next time because what do we have scheduled? What do we have scheduled?
I have no clue.
The schedule is I think I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, I think it's the Captain America review.
What I was thinking of.
Oh wait, no, I was wrong. I was wrong. We're going to talk about why we love and hate Iron Man. So if you love and hate Iron Man, that's going to be our next episode. I expect you boys to know every single thing about Iron Man next time.
I will conveniently have something that I have to do that day, so I will not be... Iron Man is a blind spot for me, okay? Most Marvel heroes are... Why do you think I barely show up in this podcast?
Well, good luck.
Well, I hope that convenience is very important. Actually, I don't care. I don't care. But anyway, thank you guys very much for listening. Hope to hear you next time, and see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
War never changes. Look at the history books, torn up pages. Cause when the dust settles after all-out war, you'll be glad we taught you what to deal with Fallout 4. You're special, you're special, you're special. Oh, so special. S-P-E-C-I-A-L. Spells out that you're quite swell. That's you. You're special, you're special. Yes, you. You're special. Oh, so
Poncho and
Cameron.
Right.